time is 10:20 and you are live on the Hear Me Out show, the voice for the young on ABN Radio. We have an exciting show for you guys today. We have our guest in the studio already. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Daniel. I'm an assistant psychologist. Really here to talk about abuse, how we can identify abuse. And yeah, just really take the conversation from there, hear what people have to say, see where the discussion goes.
We also have the usual people in the house. Would you all like to keep... And Amma London is in the house. Amma London.
What's up, people? It's been a long time coming, but I'm back in the building. What's poppin'?
Yeah, and Dr. Julius.
Can we just call me? Okay, you know what?
Just
hey everyone,
just accept
it's
it.
Dr. Julius. That's my name, I guess now.
And Amazing Grace.
The homies.
Yeah, we have an exciting show for you guys today. We're talking about abuse. This month we're focusing on abuse, and we felt like it was necessary for us to have like a professional come in and set the pace, give us like an overview of what abuse is and the types of abuse that we have, how to identify abuse, as well as how to deal with abuse. We're going straight into our trending topics for Africa. Ghanaian rapper Kusi Arthur says he's not here for not winning the BET award, but here for not winning to make Ghana and his fans proud. So we all know Kusi Arthur was nominated for the Best International Act for the last BET Awards, but unfortunately he didn't win. I must say, I knew he wasn't going to win because he was going against Davido. And
Yeah, David.
And I mean, like, if 10% of Nigeria votes for Davido, that's like the whole of Ghana voting for you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're rooting for you, and that would have been like a difficult battle to fight. But, yeah, I mean, if you had won it, Ghana would have been proud, but you didn't. But the fact that you're nominated for the award,
Yeah, it's good enough.
yeah, it's good enough for us.
You're being noticed. You know, the world kind of knows your name and seen you on TV. Like, they know like you've been nominated. So I think it's good enough than just winning a trophy.
Yeah, I think it's good that he was nominated because if it wasn't for Kwesi Arthur, no Ghanaian would have been nominated for. We wouldn't be part of the BET nomination. So he's done well, and up until the BETs, I actually didn't really know too much about Kwesi Arthur. I think he's quite new on the music scene in Ghana, so I didn't really know. So I think it's good he's gotten that exposure, especially this early on in his career, because a lot of people that won in the past, you've had psychologist, Stonebwoy, they've been. I mean, psychologist is one of the biggest acts in Ghana and Africa as well, and he was at the peak of it when he won the award. So for Kwesi Arthur to come in as a newbie and be nominated for BET, I think that alone is a huge achievement. And this, I think, will catapult him and propel him like into, you know, getting more global like attention, recognition, and this will help his career. So I think you should definitely see this as a stepping stone to the next phase in his career. And you know, hopefully next time when he gets nominated again, people will be more familiar with his music, and you know, he can bag it definitely. So yeah, I think that's a big thing. And I understand that maybe he felt upset because he wanted to make his country proud, which I think everybody kind of feels that responsibility. If it comes to your country, or like trying to make your parents proud or something like that, you know, you want to make them proud. But I think the fact that he's gotten this recognition so early on in his career, I mean, that's a huge boost. So I think he should be. I mean, yeah, he should be proud of that. He's done really, really well.
And I mean, I think you didn't win for Ghana, but you won for the youth. Considering like your age and how you basically just started. I might be wrong, but I mean, I just recently heard of you, and to be nominated for this award. You won for the youth because I feel like you've inspired a lot of young people. Like if you work hard, the recognition would come. And so you didn't win for Ghana, but you did win for the youth.
Absolutely.
And being a radio show that is meant to inspire the youth, we give you big ups, take our hats off to you, and say congratulations for the nomination. You didn't win, but I feel like you've won like the hearts of a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I'm saying, because I did not know about him up until the nomination. Like, there was so much buzz going on at this so, and like I said, he really carried the nation on his shoulders, because had it not been for him, we would not have been part of the nominations this year for the Best International Act. So he's done well for himself, and he should be really. This is a really, really big achievement for young. Like you're saying, I think he out of Ghana, he's quite one of the youngest so far recently that have done. So he's done really well for himself, and I think this is just going to make his career blow.
Yeah, he's put Ghana on the global stage.
Yeah, definitely. And also he's got a bit of a different sound in comparison to the typical Afrobeats and hip life. It's something new. It's like you're saying, it's for the younger generation. So I think that's really good. He's bringing something new. So he should be proud of himself.
Yeah. And I mean, our second trending topic, the ex-vice president had to be put in the back of a pickup truck.
What?
Because of the lack of an ambulance.
Which ex?
So, the ex-vice president, Park Hussein Misata recently lost his
Wow.
life, and reports have come out saying that they actually had to put him like in a pickup truck.
Oh God.
Like when they called an ambulance and it was taking so long, so they decided to put him in the back of a pickup truck and send him to the hospital, which is where he lost his life. I'm not surprised. It happens all the time because I've had to carry somebody in the back of my car, like a bleeding guy had been knocked down by the side of the road, hit and run driver, and I had to rush him to 37 Military Hospital. And I get there and literally was running around trying to find a wheelchair. The guy was literally bleeding on the back of my car. And I got there and it was like nobody really cared. I mean,
Wow.
I got there like, why are you panicking? Like, take your time. And they go to the back of the hospital to get like a wheelchair. Like, I was wondering, like, nobody cares. Like, it's bad.
It's
really
bad.
bad.
And you know what's so funny? Because, yeah, it's sad that, you know, a person has to be put in a pickup truck to be taken to the hospital.
Ex-vice president.
And he's also a vice president. That's just sad. This is no, and one thing that shows you is that when death is near, death is no respecter of man or
That's true.
persons.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But then again, too, I remember you know when we have our Independence Day celebrations, they always bring out they come to do parades and
machineries and
do,
stuff
yeah,
like that, yeah.
and you always see the ambulance. And I remember when I think just this past one, I was like, wow, Ghana has ambulance. I'd never seen it in my life. And they have the ambulance
only do they have-
vans or trucks.
I mean, they do have the ambulances, but the response time
response
is an
is
issue because I mean,
ridiculous.
and it has to do with like all the departments like the fire service and the
All of them.
police and stuff like that. I mean, but I mean, for me, I feel like it goes beyond like just the ambulance services. I mean, Ghana is a fast developing country, and there's a lot of like practices that we are taken in from the West.
Yeah.
And I know like in the past 2 or 3 years, there's been a whole wave of like healthy eating and a healthy lifestyle. And like a lot of gyms have been springing up, people are jogging, exercising, because we had a lot of prominent people dying from cardiac arrest, which is good, like exercise is good. But then again, I always ask this question, like the professionals in the gym, like how well are they trained to handle emergencies like this? Are they qualified enough to give CPR? Like, I feel like, I don't know, but I feel like if there was something that was done prior to him being carried to the hospital, he might have been living by now. So in as much as we want to adopt these things, like the strategies need to put in place to ensure that emergencies like this can be handled. I mean, because we are a developing country, so we can like set the foundations right, look at the West, see where they erred, where they were wrong, and have it do it better for ourselves.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
For me, I feel like us Ghanaians don't really like to take risk and like switch up the whole way things should be done. That's my personal opinion, because like we like to take things slow and just used to what we're like used to. But if you look at Nigerians, when you give them something, they work on it, they develop it, they work hard for it. Ghanaians don't like to take risk at all.
And that's what I'm saying. It goes back to the mindset. Like we're very, and it's sad, but we're very just stuck in our mentality. Like Ghanaians is like, we cannot change. We will not change. Like it's like, it's just they refuse to, and it's really sad because we're developing. And Ghana was one of the first sub-Saharan countries to gain independence. So the level where we should be at should be surpassing all other nations. But it's sad. It's like we're stagnant. Like we just refuse. Like we don't want to move because something like healthcare or you know emergency services. I mean, we should be. It's something that should be top notch right now, you know, and especially when it comes to all this independence, and then they're doing all of these parades and showing off and stuff, and it's like these things don't even really function, you know, because I was thinking, I was like, so in Ghana, if like, you know, somebody's called police or ambulance or like, what do they call? Is it
You call your parents.
yeah, because it's like
As an emergency number,
You call a friend. I don't know. I to be honest with you, I know the emergency numbers and you can call them. I don't know them offhand. But I've had an incident where a friend of mine's house, like the electricity pole in front of her house was burning. And she called, there's a 191, which is supposed to be the police or the fire service. And she was given the complaints, we were taking the complaints, and then they were like, oh, where are you? And she's like, she was at her location, she mentioned the location, apparently like, oh, you've called another region or whatever, like Kumasi. So call, this is the Accra number, and they give like a private number to call. It's like, what?
you see, if it's in the
How does that
UK,
even happen?
wherever you
There's
call,
a
they
switchboard.
just,
There's a switchboard.
yeah, switchboard,
in
and they
the
just
UK.
quick, and they just be like, okay, we'll put you through to.
I mean,
one
so
that
I think
is
it's
to you.
there, but like the whole system has
it's just
issues.
Technology.
Yeah, I mean, we've made some progress. We actually have the emergency systems in place, but the technicalities of it needs to work. And I mean, in Nigeria, you would say, I mean, a private person would just set up an ambulance service, puts name on it, and that's his pride. But I think in Ghana we want like the government to sort out everything for us, individuals too, because there are people in Ghana who can move things around, but they just wouldn't. That's the difference I see between the Ghanaian and the Nigerian. And then again, initially I thought it was like an African problem, but then you look at Rwanda and you realize that it's not an African problem. Like we can do things differently. It's not, Africa is not a narrow-minded place. There's so many things that can happen for us. We just need to change our mindsets as a people. So our next trending topic is the World Cup. Who is Africa supporting?
England.
It's coming on.
Actually, no, we should support France.
Really?
I support France because they took out...
Some Africans.
Yeah.
Africa is still in the World Cup, don't be fooled. GB is not French.
Pogba, where's Pogba from?
Well, you're asking the wrong person. Where's?
Because he's French, but I know that he's not like...
You just look at the French colonies.
Yeah, that's it.
I need to just jump in on this one sec. So you're telling me, you're really telling me that we've got full-blooded African players in the World Cup
Yeah.
that are not going to play for their home country.
Welbeck is
But why?
Ghanaian, but he's playing...
But why?
Welbeck ain't got it.
Yes.
Yeah,
he
Welbeck is
is.
Ghanaian.
Yes, he is Ghanaian.
But why? Like, why would Welbeck not play for Ghana?
But let me tell you, this goes back to, for example, this is, I think we spoke about
A
it.
discussion
Money,
on the
corruption, money.
Yeah,
and
because-
issues
No,
with the
I completely understand political stuff like that. You are going to be in the spotlight. You are the faces. Whether you like it or not, you are going to be the faces of the World Cup. And imagine bringing a World Cup back to Africa.
I know, it would
no,
be
you know what? You know what home is? Home is Mother Africa. So if you want football to come home, don't talk to me about no
I feel
England.
like
Don't talk to me about no England.
you need to choose your battles.
No,
properly,
honestly,
like,
yeah.
if trying to fight for
Jollof
Africa, like
rice.
trying to bring the cup back to
It
Africa,
can.
it's a huge battle.
Yeah.
Trying to play for like another team is pretty easier. And we mentioned this here, like issues with the GFA.
Yeah, and not even
honestly, until those things are sorted out, I
Sorted
don't
out,
think
it's
a lot of the
difficult
foreign
because things like
company,
this, I'm sure-
players will come
Yeah,
and play
because
for
I'm
us.
sure Welbeck, European.
Hey.
Welbeck is sitting down like, thank you God, I didn't play for them. Because if he had, his career would have
He'll be
gone
out.
Yeah.
down the
Corruption.
drain. And it's sad. That's what I'm saying. I would love to see the day like a World Cup will come to. I mean, that's when we had the World Cup hosted by South Africa. I think that was the littest World Cup I've
Host
ever.
and win.
Yeah,
That was the slogan.
yeah,
First
that
one,
was
yeah.
the best World Cup I've ever watched in my life. Like,
It's really
it was
colourful.
amazing.
Colourful.
Because this past 2 years, I haven't really, especially this year, I basically didn't know what was going on with the World Cup. But 2010, yeah, 2010 best World Cup ever. But for it to come home, like, and for football to come to Africa, things are going to have to change. Because, for example, had Welbeck or these other Ghanaian or African players that are eligible to play for their home countries had played for them, their careers would have kind of gone down the drain. Because look at Kevin Prince Boateng, he's quite a good footballer, and unfortunately, because of the whole shenanigans that went on, his international career has kind of been a bit stagnant.
I completely agree and I completely understand.
Yeah.
But when you look at Lionel Messi, okay, what's he done in the World Cup?
Nothing.
Nothing. But he's still one of the greatest players ever. So don't tell me that the World Cup is the only stage where you can make a name for yourself.
No.
What I'm saying is this is the exact same situation with the NFL, the exact situation with football. If all the black people, all the African people in the NFL, you see how they're being racist. So don't play. Watch them white boys play. They'll be begging for you back. Okay, they'll be begging to have you back. Same thing with football. You African man. If we went out of the World Cup, can you imagine what we'd be watching?
Really
It'd be so
boring. Like,
boring.
I
I
understand
understand.
what
But
you mean.
using Messi as an example, Messi, the Argentinian, he's like great footballer, and then also with the World Cup, it kind of didn't go well. But still, the Argentinian team, they haven't really necessarily had much like scandals, and I don't know how their football association works, but it's okay. Argentina's been pretty much every World Cup I've seen, kind of thing. But with Ghana, the reason why it's an issue is because the GFA is corrupt. So it makes it...
It's all to do with money, and I understand. But if money is your sole route, you are not going to be successful in anything.
It's not just about money. It's
not
about
about money.
having like the peace of mind to play properly.
Yeah.
And so it goes beyond just the corruption. You need like a good environment, a safe environment to play. That's how I see it. If you
Definitely.
feel like this organization is not going to help me out, and I mean, I feel like with Welbeck, he would want to play the World Cup. So even if he can't play for Ghana, then he play for France. Like, I mean, for most of us, when he didn't goal with Ghana, we were not surprised.
Yeah.
And we don't hold anything against him. I feel like yesterday, Ghanaians were so happy because payback.
Yeah.
Uruguay, like, I mean, I
God.
think every Ghanaian is supporting France right now. Like, if you look on social media, all you could see was payback. Also, look at people's citizens and payback. And thank you, France.
And every World Cup
So,
payback.
Ghanaians
Every World
are
Cup,
officially French people right now. Like, we're supporting France. Thank you.
Goodness.
Thank you for taking Uruguay out.
I just want to see what happens.
You guys know how it feels now.
I just want to see. I just want to see what happens
With England.
if all the people who could play for African countries played. I just wanted to see what would happen. That's what I thought.
No, yeah,
But
definitely.
then you got to look at it and think like, are these teams actually looking to be successful? Like, if I'm Kevin Prince Boateng, I'll be quite annoyed at the management of the team. Messi, like, I think there was one of the matches, I think was it against Nigeria, I'm not sure, but he was just in the national anthem, he was just rubbing his head, just thinking, what's going on? Like, Argentina have fantastic talent, but the manager has no clue how to use his players. I mean, you're in a crunch match against Croatia and you got Di Maria on the bench,
That's
Banega on the bench.
That's
You
management.
You
Fine.
know your quality, know your players.
I think this is just to like go kind of. This is my last point. I think that what we're talking about isn't just like the coaching. I think it's the things behind it, like the senior
management
heads
and the operations
of
and
the
stuff like that.
operations.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that with Argentina is good. I think it's literally playing, coaching. That's the issue with Argentina. But with Ghana, it's like we got the talent. It's just the people from literally the
Behind the
head,
scenes, yeah.
like the heads. It's just corruption and all for some money. And I don't understand why we use money
Yeah.
as such a driving force.
It's true. It's sad.
But then, as I said, with the case coming out against the GFA, that's a start. I feel like that's like a starting point, and certain things are gonna come up, and if it's dealt with properly, then like progress can come in. But then they can bring all this information, nothing happens, and it goes back to square one. So I would like to see some sort of transformation or reformation in the GFA, and then I would feel like players like Warbeck will feel comfortable enough to come back and play.
Yeah,
and fans
definitely.
like us will have a team to watch and support, and companies like Puma and others who can have jerseys to sell and make some money.
Oh my gosh, yes, please, sponsorship, yes. Oh my
The
days.
2010 World Cup, Puma had a partnership with the Black Stars.
Yeah, I mean, you have
but
the
then-
jersey and stuff like that.
Yeah, but now it's.
Okay, so that's what our trending topics in Africa generally. We'll take
Eh.
music now. I'm a London. What are we listening to at this moment?
Right now, well, we're coming to a few little ads of Hear Me Out Show, and afterwards we have Feli Nuna, that's the one. Afro music coming up soon. So stay tuned, guys. And also gonna Welbeck. Anyway.
Welcome back, guys. You're live on the Hear Me Out Show, the voice for the young on ABN Radio. Amazing Grace, trending topics for Europe, the UK.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So trending topics this week. One story which really stood out to me and reminded me of a story about 8 years ago was that of the Thai boys who've been stuck in a cave with their coach. This story really reminds me. I don't know if anybody remembers those Chilean miners that were stuck underground in 2010. Yeah, this is very close, and it's so sad because they're so young. So a group of Thai boys were discovered inside a cave by British rescue divers on Monday, 10 days after they went missing. So they've been there for 10 days plus. Yeah. So I was watching on the BBC actually. They basically kind of perched up inside a rock underground in the cave, and you've got like water, and obviously in Thailand right now it's the rainy season, so
it's a lot of flooding and stuff like that.
So it's heavy rainfall. So right now the boys' lives are at risk. So the Thai Navy SEALs and the British divers are working hand in hand, and so they're trying to get oxygen to the boys, getting them medical attention, and also like food and stuff like that. But right now the main issue is rescuing them and getting them out. And right now it's a bit difficult because basically most of the boys there don't know how to swim, and because it's the rainy season, in order for them, a lot of water is coming in, and so they have option of either getting them to divers are teaching them currently how to swim, but the swim that they have to make is really long, and they're going to be underwater for such a long time. So it's a very, very scary situation, and you know, these boys, they're little boys, and it's scary because, you know, I can't imagine being under a cave and then being as young as they are, having to dive underwater and not knowing how to swim, being underwater for such a long time. And these divers are trying to are teaching them, but
it's not something you can learn like in days.
Yeah, and obviously also because of the pressure of it, so it's kind of like a do or die affair, because the length in which they have to be underwater to get to the other side.
It's long. Yeah. Because I was reading on that story
Yeah.
this morning, and apparently there was the Navy SEAL who was helping them set up a link, like
Yes.
a line that was going to allow them to supply oxygen to the boys. And apparently it's like an 11-hour swim.
Yes.
And he actually lost his life because he ran out of oxygen in his tank. And so it's not like these guys are just going to be swimming across, like on the surface for 5 minutes. They're going to be swimming underwater with an oxygen tank for approximately like maybe 6 to 7 hours, because it was an 11-hour swim there and back. So it's a very tricky situation. Apparently they've been in the cave for such a long time. They're weak, they're tired. And I mean, the state of mind they are in, this is a tricky situation.
Yeah, it is.
And I mean, questions have been asked as to why is it that they cannot like blast a hole through the top of the rock and get them out.
Yeah, so currently rescues have dug more than 100 holes. And they have about 18 ones which are promising that maybe it can get them a direct route to bring the boys out, but they're still trying to figure that out. And also, the governor of the region states that the boys, they have strength, but they don't have enough strength to swim. Because, I mean, even as an adult, or even as the best rescue diver or whatever, it's not easy to swim underwater for 11 hours
with an oxygen tank.
With the oxygen tank, and these boys don't know how to swim. And yes, teaching them how to swim, like, you can't learn how to swim in a day, and especially under such circumstances, it's too much. So I think the best bet is to hopefully these 18 holes that are promising, hopefully one of them can lead them straight.
I mean, I was reading and they said they've been trying to pump out water, but then the more they pump out, the more it fills up. It's like pumping like a drop out of like an entire ocean.
Yeah, and also there's heavy rainfall.
It's still raining.
Now. It's raining,
it's still raining. And I mean, even with the holes, apparently it's kind of like it's a rock. So it's like you're hitting like bullets and stuff like that. So it's not as easy as it looks. But then the good thing is it's called brought a lot of international attention. We have all these experienced divers and Navy SEALs coming in, and hopefully we should get all the boys out safely. I mean, the teacher has written a note apologizing to the parents.
Yeah, and the boys have also written notes to their parents.
Just to give them some sort of assurance that they're okay, because I mean, as a parent, you want to know if your child is okay.
It's okay.
And it's a difficult situation. Our hearts go out to the parents and to the country of Thailand. We hope that at the end of the day, it's a good story comes out of it. It's like, you know, it's a bad situation. By the end of the day, it's still turned out okay.
I also read that they're actually losing oxygen as well.
Yeah, they're losing, so they're
the levels have dropped.
Yeah,
which is why they created a line that allowed them to supply the oxygen to the boys, because they needed to.
Yeah.
So clearly they're trying to what's the word? Maintaining the situation. They're trying to control the situation. It's just that the final outcome is what seems a bit.
It's tough right now. How to get the
It's
boys out?
not easy to get there, but
I think the getting drilling the hole directly to them. Obviously, this is a bit different from the mine situation because they didn't have water in the mine. Yeah. But I think getting a direct hole, something that can just bring out the boys straight, because I think the swimming option it's not best because it's really risking their lives because they're young boys. They can't swim. Yes, they're teaching them, but realistically, I don't think that's sticking. And 11 hours underwater, it's really risky. So hopefully, you know, they can find a situation out. But like you said, Shefni, I think that our hearts really go out to the parents and to these young boys. I think, you know, having a psychologist in here, I think the mental state of these boys, I think, is a very big thing. This is something that can have an impact on them for the rest of their lives, because I watched a documentary on the Chilean miners after the rescue, and a lot of them say that they still deal with the psychological aspect of it because it's scary.
It never goes.
It never goes away. Some of them have nightmares. It's tough, and you know, these boys are really young, so their mental state is really at stake here because it's a lot. I
mean, Dan, would you like to give us like an idea, or would you like to guess the state of the mind of the boys at this point in time as a psychologist?
I think it's probably the longer it goes on, the more of a psychological trauma is going to be for the children. But I think the reassuring thing for them is that people are coming to try and rescue them out. So I think that kind of balances out the anxiety. But I guess there's in every failed attempt to rescue, I think there's that idea of impending doom. You know what I mean? So that's just building up the anxiety. Am I going to get out? Am I not going to get out? and coupled with the fact that they're not getting the proper nutrition, you know, I can feel their mental state is probably causing the physiological feelings of weakness as well as not eating. So I think, just really getting them fed, encouraging them, and hoping that the rescuers can come up with more ideas to try and get to these kids.
Definitely.
I mean, great minds at work, and hopefully.
Yeah, and I think it's nice that there's you've got the British divers that are going there, and so they have a bit of contact with the outside world, because I think with the Chilean miners, they were under and they didn't really have much contact apart from when it came to time to actually bring them out and rescue. So when these boys are seeing people from outside, it gives them that bit of reassurance. Obviously, it is a bit disappointing when a rescue fails, but it's giving them that reassurance. And I really hope that the government and also countries all around the world, I'm happy that England is supporting and, you know, having the divers there, and hopefully other countries who are much more skilled in technique can help with this as well. So yeah, our hearts go out to them, and I pray that, you know, everything works out for them, these boys come out safely, and yeah.
Alright, so to our topic for this month, abuse.
Yes.
Psychologist Dan.
Just that.
Do you want to give us like a brief statement on what abuse is before we go and take a news in like 5 minutes?
All right. So abuse is just simply like the improper use or treatment of a certain entity. So that's like a broad idea of what abuse is.
Okay.
Can you repeat that again, very clear to the mic so everyone can hear exactly?
Put them up to
Abuse
their mic.
is, according to psychologist
Yes.
Dan.
So abuse is just the improper use or treatment of an entity.
Okay.
So this entity could be anything, but in this case we're talking about human beings.
Wow.
Okay. Anyways, guys, just think about this, and we'll take we'll go for a musical break, take our news, and come back. And you can just call into our studio on 0208 670 7300, or WhatsApp or text us on 0788 747 5940. Call us, text us, let us know what you're thinking. If you have any questions, any stories you want to share with us, we're here and we're trying to help you out. We have a trained psychologist in here, and he'll give you like professional advice as well. Enjoy.
Hey, meow show.
ABN Radio. On the show today we have psychologist Dan. Dan, you want to give a shout out?
Hey!
Shout out to everyone. I'm a London.
Hi guys.
And Amazing Grace.
Shout out to the homies.
All the homies, and Dr. Julius.
I will change that name by next week.
Oh
Don't
my
you worry.
days.
I hate that name, Dr. Julius. Ew.
Come on with Dr. Julius, I don't know.
Do you know
we need to ask
it was all
him
NK. It was all because
Of
my
NK.
parents are doctors and my first name is Julius.
Oh.
So he's like, hey, Dr. Julius. This guy.
Anyways,
Yeah.
guys, you can call in on 0208 670 7300, or send us a text or WhatsApp on 0788 747 5940. Please follow all our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, HMO Show. Topic for today, or for this month, is abuse. We had psychologist Dan giving us a brief idea of what abuse is. But Dan, what is the most prevalent form of abuse in the African and Afro-Caribbean community? What do you think is what's the prevalent ones in this community?
I think it can range. It can range between three. You could say domestic abuse, physical abuse, and mostly psychological, which then could lead to other financial situations where people are held to people are abused based on how much money they earn, etc. But I'll say in the African community, most prevalent would be psychological abuse.
And when you say psychological abuse, what exactly do you mean? Like, what is psychological abuse?
So it's when it's almost as when so when we go back to the definition of abuse, when we think about the improper use or treatment of an entity. So when we think it's about a set of behaviours that are being done. So a set of improper behaviours that are being done, which will have a psychological will induce psychological trauma. So a set of behaviours such as bullying, maybe. So if I bully someone over a period of time, it's going to end up with them feeling anxious. You know, so but if you're talking about in an Africa, how that looks like in probably for Africans, we've got, you know, the verbal abuse, which can also be considered psychological. For instance, where, you know, you see parents with negative labeling a lot. You know, you're stupid, mad dog. And, you know, and I think some of it, and on all sides, you know, I always say, if the world comprehended at the same level, all sense would be common. Like, you know, this sort of information isn't just exclusive to psychologists. Everybody needs to know it. You know, because we need to understand that what we say and what we do has impact on people, especially children. You know, you could imagine being told. Sometimes I can hear it just walking down the street. You know, you mad dog. You know, if their child makes a mistake, but they have to realize that. Do they understand their child's development? You know, a child's.
Yo, just one thing, I'm not gonna lie, I've never heard anyone call their child mad dog.
Thank you.
Like,
I was like, that's a new one.
Is that one that, like, you hear?
I don't hear that one often. I've heard Mumu, that one. I've heard that quite often.
Yeah, I think
You've heard that before, Mumu, yeah? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I feel like even the word stupid is used just casually. Forgetting that it sticks in the mind of the child. Which you mean, or you're stupid or something like that. Like, or are you stupid? Like, that's like a question.
Yeah.
Remember we had a guest a couple of weeks ago was talking about how, like, even the words that we use when we raise up our kids, like, it's all like seeds that are in your hand, and it depends on the type of seed that you sow and what you get out of it.
Exactly.
But then, let me ask you this question then. So, where's the line? Is there a line between having a friendly form of, for lack of a better word, banter, and then just straight insulting your kids? Because, like, you know, I understand that language you use is important, and life and death, the power of life and death is in the tongue. So when you call your kids stupid, I think that it's the spirit that you say it in, rather than the actual word stupid, if you get what I mean. I'm of the opinion that as long as you can say whatever you want in a loving way, in the right spirit, and then that will dictate what words you choose, rather than in the negative spirit, because... Yeah.
Okay, so I'll flip the question back to you, and I ask you, how, as a 6-year-old, how do I identify a right spirit in what you're saying?
Because, I mean, there are very mature kids out there who, from a young age, have been...
But there are not mature kids.
A lot of kids. I believe that there are certain kids that are very mature and have a bit more of a open mind. But majority of the time, if you've seen a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, their mindset, they don't understand, oh, mummy was saying this in a jokeful way or didn't mean it.
And I think that is a cultural issue, because when you look culturally in the UK, in certain areas, you will see exactly what you're saying, you know, immature children. Whereas if you look at places where times are hard, if you look at places where money's low, places where there isn't time for childminding or anything, it's grow up or, you know, bad stuff will happen. Kids there are a lot more savvy, they're a lot more wise, they're a lot more mature. And so I think that that's more an issue of how we baby our kids. And I'm very interested to hear your opinion of that. I'm of the opinion that in this country we are very much, let's take care, let's mold their minds in a very nice way, when the world is not very nice and the world is not like that, and you need to be a little bit more stern.
But then that's the whole point, isn't it? Like, for, you know, again, you have like the attachment theory, which basically talks about the relationship that a parent starts off really with the relationship the parent forms with a child. Now, that's quite significant. That relationship could be formed by action and also the words you say. Now, growing up now, that attachment experiences that we've had, so the experiences of being cared for, the experiences of how we're being cared for in distress, we take that as we grow up in our what we call an internal working model. Now the experiences that we have in the world will now amend that model that we have inside. Now, you're right in the sense that we can't control the world that's around us, but if I have a trusted adult in which I have a secure relationship with, you know, in psychology we say that that's a secure base, so that when the child faces that emotional, you know, challenge, or maybe they're getting bullied at school, or maybe they're finding their homework hard, you know, Because all these things can start from those things that which are seen as smaller things, smaller issues, you know. They're the smallest in their class. Or, you know, they're not quite the biggest person. All of those can start to fester and cause and have a mental impact.
Okay.
So what I'm really saying here is that let's think about what we're saying and what we're doing to our children and think, what experience am I giving them that would help them form their relationships in the future? I know I want to give my child a secure base, you know, so I don't want to, I'll be careful. There is a jovial sense in which we can banter with our kids, but I think what psychology has taught me is that children are at different stages of development, and depending on the type of experiences a child has will determine the rate of their development, cognitively and also socioeconomically. As you said, with like if a parent has a bad job, you know, like most of the African community I know that come over from abroad, you know, have to work jobs which involve them working in nights, so they don't have the time to interact with their child is limited. You know,
I completely understand that, and I agree with you that in the sense that children are at different developmental stages, cognitively, biologically, and socially. But then, how does that relate to schooling? Because we lump children based on age group, when cognitively, they are at completely different stages. Emotionally, biologically, completely
But
different
then
stages.
again, I feel like school is based on
Age group?
it's based on age group, and also no, but you know, kids, you get put in your age group, but then you get put in sets, so based on your intelligence or whatever.
Yeah.
So
That has nothing to do with emotional maturity.
yeah,
That has
that's what
nothing
I'm
to
saying.
do-
But school isn't necessarily school does it. I think subconsciously does mold children in terms of their emotions. Because like I always say that I feel like kids spend most of their day in school, and I feel like, to be honest, the school's what brings up the kids in comparison to the parents. But I think
challenge that. I'll challenge
I want to
that.
hear that. Yeah.
and the reason why I say that is because kids spend how many hours are kids in school for? Is it 6? I think it's about like 6 hours.
9
or-
to 3 average.
Yeah. So they spend that amount of time in school, and that's where they make their friends. And essentially, when you drop your child off to school or whatever, their teacher is that guard, like is the person that's
person's
like,
teaching them
and guide. They're responsible. If something goes wrong in the school, the teachers will be held responsible.
Yeah.
So for me, and although a lot of the times, yes, teachers are teaching your children education, and you learn this, that, 1 + 1, all of that. But then at the same time, teachers equip, the same way you're saying that parents, the words that they use towards the children, there are certain words that teachers can use towards the children as well. You know, sometimes you have that trouble kid that's misbehaving, doing this, and some teachers are just like, oh, this kid isn't going anywhere, and this and that affects the child as well. Because a lot of kids I've come across that maybe kind of have a bit of are a bit troubled or misbehaving, and a lot of the times, yes, there is some aspects where it comes from parenting or maybe the relationship, but a lot of times you're just like, oh, no teachers like have hope in me, and everyone just, because when I was in primary school, I remember for maths, I was put in the lower set, and it used to frustrate me because I had this outburst one day. I was in year 6, and I went to my teacher's and I was like, no, I want to be in the top set. I can do it, and I know I can, like, just let me be there, like, I don't like doing all this baby work. And they were just like, no, Grace, like, we don't think you can do it, like,
At
no.
year 6, you know.
Year 6.
You know that you had the ability to be in higher.
Yeah, and they were like, no, Grace, we don't think you can do it. And for me, at that moment, that stuck with me. And so every time it came to maths, immediately I was blocked off. I didn't. But it took my math teacher in secondary school to change that around. Shout out to Mr. Armour, the best teacher, and he impacted my life, not just in terms of education, but emotionally and socially, because he gave me a mentality that I applied to. He believed in me and pushed me. I remember he won't let me leave the classroom until I've understood the algebra formula or whatever. And he just instilled in me hard work. I always thought that I'd be that girl that would be retaking maths, like even in 6th form. But I passed my maths GCSE on the first try, and I thought I had failed. But my teacher, he pushed me, and every time I feel like giving up in something in my life or just generally, I'm like, no, if I could get through that hurdle, I can get through that. So that's why I say that teachers in school play such a big role, because one teacher almost made me doubt myself and like almost turned it left, and then another one changed me put me on the better course. So I really say that has a very big impact on...
Yeah, I think where you're disagreeing is she's saying that teachers are more impactful than parents?
I
Could
think
you
we
spend more time?
I just want to hear you on that. Because you disappeared, I just want to hear what you have to say.
I think we just need to separate the people from the
Kids.
No, just separate. So you're talking about, because you're talking about the experience you had in school.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the teacher that gave you that experience.
Mm.
Okay, so it was the adult.
Okay.
In particular that gave you it. So what you've experienced is that you had that negative experience earlier on, and so in your internal working model was that, okay, anytime I approach this challenge in maths, you know, you draw back to that experience, but this teacher's actually decided, you know, to give you a different one, which then has now informed your internal working model with that new information. So now you can use that experience to form a new
other areas as well.
Yeah. So, and that's great, and that's why I say that this type of information we're talking about should be not just refined just to like psychologists, but also just to everybody in the general population.
Definitely.
But if we just look at the maths, like I asked you a question, like how much of a child's waking hours are spent in a school as a percentage? What do you think? Provided that a child has about 8 hours sleep, how much of their waking hours?
You're in school, legal hours from 9 to 3, let's say. Are you asking like a percentage over a year?
Yeah, a percentage over a year, yeah.
6 hours.
So I would say, I don't know, maybe 60%. I'd say most of the year you were in school. That's what I would assume. That's my guess.
Because even like, for example, okay, maybe primary school, but when you hit secondary school, when you finish school at 3, you still stay like back, be chilling with bad chicken chips, and even maybe you're not in the school itself, but you're still like in
schoolmates,
schoolmates, you know, we'll go to buy chicken and chips,
so
let's go to a
percentage
fun
would you
fair.
guess then?
So I would say about 70%. If you put that factor into it, because I feel like the 60% is you in the school, like your day-to-day school, but then I feel like outside, even though you're not maybe in the school, you still have that kind of school environment, because I know for one, like when it hits 3 o'clock, you see all the school kids coming out, some of them going chicken and chips, or we're going to a fun fair that's across the road.
I feel like he's going to blow us away with some mad low numbers.
Okay, maybe it is low, but that's my...
Do you want to blow our minds with the statistics, like how much
it's actually 26%.
Oh, come on!
26%.
No way.
So with 26% of a child's time actually spent in school, where's the 74%?
Wait. 26? Are you?
I don't think it's at home, because I feel like a lot of kids. I think maybe primary school. Yeah.
On the train.
Even primary school.
Because no one goes home on time.
No one goes home on time. I think primary school, maybe mum comes to pick you up from school.
Yeah.
But even at that, I think from secondary school going, a lot of them go home at like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
That's when they're now hitting home.
Westwood is a new hit place.
As in-
town centres.
But then, how much of that time is spent at home?
But then that's dependent on who we're talking about, isn't it?
Okay,
But the reason why I say that
what
fact,
are you getting at? Like,
so what I'm getting at is the fact that you had that positive experience in that small opportunity, that small window of opportunity. But the bigger window of opportunity is actually outside.
Okay.
So we need to just think, okay, and it's not just the parents' duty, but you know, research shows that children form stronger attachment with people who support their ideas, beliefs, and abilities. So, who are those trusted? For instance, if I've got my nephew, who are the trusted adults in his life?
Right.
You know, can I be that one? You know, could I be the one that is the one that's given him these experiences that will then inform how he
But
makes
I
his
think
choices?
that since you are, we've agreed. Okay, let's agree that you spend 26% of your time in school.
Yeah.
The other 74%, you could be anywhere.
Anywhere.
26% of the time, you know exactly where a kid's going to be, who they're going to be around. You can impact them there. I think that it takes a community to raise a child, and
village,
because the only community where everybody will be is school, I think that is more impactful. So, yes, you are only 26% of the time in school, but I think that it is it's more emotionally impactful, because that is a percentage of time where you are surrounded by people daily that you know. Daily. So it's a community that you can be extremely influenced by, whereas other percent of the time you could be anywhere doing anything. So that's
okay. So we're going off the belief that every school and every educational institution is 100% correct.
No. I'm just saying that's where you are. So I'm saying that's why it was more important to train teachers than it is to train parents.
And I think with that information, it's necessary that you choose the right school. And like, because as you're saying, 26% of your child's life is going to be in school, basically. So if you know that aspect, because I mean, the rest of the time we wouldn't know where they are. But if you can, you know that 26% of the time they're going to be in school, you need to be strategic in the type of school you're choosing and pay more attention to that aspect of your lives and make sure they're impacted there more. Because just as Grace said, what happened to her in school has pivoted certain things in her life. And so if for example, she got that right, the teacher believed in her, and because of that, when she faces certain things, she looks at that and feels like she can do it. So because of that aspect, it's empowering her to be able to do more. So then if you know this, then then parents should be more concerned about their child's education in school and stuff like that, as compared to what they do outside. Because if you're able to get that right, they'll have like a certain foundation to be able to do things outside.
Because for example, like kids, like just to add on that, if they've got that foundation right in school, I think that transcends into their just general life. Because like kids that maybe just hanging around, just loitering, not doing anything in their life, it's because mostly at school, like they're just like no one really cares for them or
but then,
is helping them.
Dan, before you come in, thinking about what we said so far, I feel like school is built upon a certain foundation, and I feel like, you can correct me, like your home or the parents are the first people that the child interacts with.
Exactly.
And so they form the basis, like the foundation on which school comes on top of that, and like certain life experiences. So if the foundation is shaky in terms of raising up the kids and putting certain attributes in them, school doesn't do anything for them because it's just being built on a shaky foundation. And anything built on a shaky foundation just collapses at the end of the day. So as a parent, you must understand that school is just an add-on
to what you're
to
doing
what
already.
you need to ensure happens.
Exactly.
So you can pick the right school, environment, whatever it is. If the foundation at home is not there, it's a total waste.
Okay, so you
because we need to think, like, because I was a teacher myself, and many times, you know, I've had a parent before come up to me about, my child don't understand this math stuff. He's coming and he's getting these low scores. What are you doing? And so I simply just turned my laptop to her and I showed her that, look at the hours your son is spending on uploading videos from his PlayStation playing experience. That's the time he could be using to actually reinforce. And I actually taught them both that maths lesson again in that meeting I had. Now, what I see all the time is that moving of responsibility. So the idea is that we should think of raising more of a child-centered approach. Child in the middle, where we have a multidisciplinary kind of.
So we have like the school, we have the parent,
we have the
we have
school,
the community,
the parent, community, the boxing club that they go to, etc. And the parent has the responsibility of communicating the child's needs to these different disciplines and where their child is going to be at, the important adults that are going to be involved. So what you said is quite bang on the head, really, there, with thinking about the foundation. So if boundaries aren't put in place by the most trusted adult in that child's life, what makes you think the school's going to do anything different? Because the school has to relate back with the parents. They have to have that relationship. The worst things I see is when I see a parent come in and shout at the teacher. Now, let's look on that. Let's look at that on another level, like, because what you're saying is that this is the position of authority that I'm leaving you under. I don't respect it, but I expect you to respect it. That doesn't make any sense. One, again, think about the attachment experiences, those early experiences we have. Parents model this thing. You know, if a child could possibly have low resilience, you know, because they haven't been exposed to environments which will allow them to develop that. You know, we have Vygotsky, who talks about the zone of proximal development. So the idea of this more knowledgeable other being an adult who has better mental functioning could help a child who has a low mental function. You know, teaching them skills to bring them to a higher order of mental function. So with that idea, okay, so how do I take that psychological mumbo jumbo and make it into something practical? Well, for instance, reading. For instance, I'm an adult, I can read perfectly. My child doesn't know how to read, okay? So he can read the words, but he's probably reading it in a monotone kind of level. But I know that intonation, so saying, being in the character of the story, you can pass across meaning.
Right.
So if I do that, so in a sense, if I read it in a more exaggerated way, I'm
Yeah.
passing on meaning to my child, and therefore I'm now equipping them with a skill they can use to read, which will make them better readers, better comprehenders, etc. So with that simple knowledge, it's not a thing where we expect parents to set up school at home. It's simple things.
Yeah.
Smile at your child, pat them on the shoulder, hug them, spot them when they're doing things good.
Right.
And that's why we say that, in school we have, like, you say, 2 stars and a wish. So everything is positive reframed. So we don't say, these are 2 good things and 1 bad thing. Everything is positive language. So we say 2 stars and a wish. You did this well, but I wish you would have done this.
That's a good one.
You know what I mean? So when you hear that, rather than this was a stupid thing, this was good, this was a stupid thing, that stupid thing.
I mean, what you're just saying, I mean, I took like a class on how to deal with like young people and how to convey information to them. And there's this theory that they call the ham theory. So basically, they'll tell you it's like a sandwich. So you affirm them and say, you've done an excellent job. What you've done is great. However, which is the meat? You could have done better in this area. Maybe you could have spoken loudly or read a sentence more clearly. And then you close it up with the bread, which is, but in the entirety of it, you did an excellent job. So you're not only hearing you bashing them, they had an affirmation that they did something well.
So yeah.
And then they had like a better way at which they could do it. So it's like a strategic way, basically. It's like saying that, for the child, it's kind of like they had that they did a good job, they could have done it better, and you taught them exactly how to do it better. But then the last thing they had was that they did a good job.
Yes, because
which is the ham theory.
Yeah, I think the last thing is what will stick with them the most, and I think that it kind of shows that you've told them like, oh, you've done this really well, and it's more of like just criticism. Oh, okay, you could have done this better, but you did. But then you end it. But overall, it was good, and I think that's really something that really has a great impact on children, because a lot of things that maybe parents do or is that they just leave them with a bad, you didn't do this, like it's like they just jump off straight into the criticism. It's like, right, so everything I'm doing is bad. But I've
just got a question, because from all of this, what I'm hearing is that we are educating our children to get their affirmation from others, from their parents, from their teachers, from people older and higher up in their eyes. So we are instinctively, we are putting into our children the fact that they need to be valued by other people, and they can't get internal value from themselves. They can't see within them that, yes, I did this well. I could have done this better, but I'm still good.
No, I think that
what we're saying is, oh, because my teacher, because my parent is valuing me and saying I'm doing this well, I need to keep going to them. And we're essentially putting social issues into their lives, saying that they need to go to other people for validation.
This is how I see it. That's not how I got it. I feel like this is what we are saying, that kids look up to people above them. And as a teacher or a parent, you're responsible for bringing a child to the place where he or she can stand on her own outside the house or school, or wherever they find themselves.
From a psychological
point of view. So we are saying that as a parent or as a teacher, the child looks up to you, and based on what Grace said, later on in life, they look at certain experiences they had with you, and that gives them the pivot to be able to do other things. So it places on you as a parent or a teacher to bring the child to the place where he or she, outside school, outside the house, will be able to look at certain experiences and move on. We're not saying that the child should look up, it's like you should get affirmation from an adult to a teacher. What we're saying is, you as a teacher or as a parent, there's a responsibility that's placed on you to build the child up to a certain level that it can stand on your own. We're not saying you should look up to people like that. We're just saying you should get information from them. We're just saying that you have a certain responsibility to playing the upbringing of a child.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're teaching someone to make a sandwich rather than giving them the sandwich. So the idea is that, I think there's so much that goes into teaching, and there's a reason for that. When you teach, you're not only giving them knowledge, you're giving them the skills to go and get knowledge. Do you see what I'm saying? So in a sense of that affirmation, yes, you can affirm the right things that they're doing, so it encourages them to independently do it. So in a sense that if a child doesn't want to brush their teeth, I would explain to them why you brush your teeth and possibly show them the negative consequences. And from that, that would probably be the negative and also the positives of brushing your teeth. So from that, in a sense, they can see the intrinsic motivation, the motivation that comes from within to brush my teeth. You know what I mean? Something simple as that.
Well, going back to the topic of abuse.
I was going to go back to that.
But that's exactly okay. Then I've got a question
Okay,
related
go
to
on,
that.
go on.
Because from what you said, okay, I completely understand. You're teaching them how to build up their own sandwich. That you're teaching them the positives and negatives so that they can go out on their own and do it. But where does emotion play a part into this? Because as a parent, obviously, you know, you're a human being too.
Yeah.
And so you go through stresses, trials and hard times too. So how can you play your emotions to relate to your child, which will then in turn relate us back to abuse?
Again, it's like what is it? It goes down to, you know, you can only do what you know how. You can only do something the best way you know how to.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is because children see the way their parents handle conflict and how they respond to certain emotions.
Yeah.
You know, and that's their model. You know, that's the initial model of how they can deal with those situations. Now, if I have a bad model, that's more likely to lead to bad consequences.
Wouldn't using that logic then say that most abuse then would be accidental? Because you wouldn't even know that you're abusing them. Because
I don't think. What I'm not coming from a point of abuse. What I'm saying is that just innately, like everything the parent does or an adult does around a young child is it's impressionable.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're setting an example for something. How do I wash my hands? If they're looking at you and seeing you do it.
Right. I feel like what you said was when kids act out or when kids have outbursts, it's just a pivot of something. So it's something that they're dealing with that's resulted in them behaving in a particular way.
Yeah.
And you coming or saying certain things, verbally abusing them doesn't help. I mean, because it just adds up to what they're dealing with. Because you said, for example, they're dealing with like being short in class or not being maybe the smartest or being bullied in school. So they're not necessarily being stupid, but what's happening to them at school or outside the house is what's causing them to be behaving in this particular way. So you adding on in terms of with insult and stuff like that doesn't necessarily help. As a parent, what you need to do is find out why is my child behaving this way and find like a better way to deal with it. Because I mean, sorry, but based on certain books I've read, people don't forget the words that are used against them. Like I remember we had a discussion when it came to raising up a child, and we said when you beat a child, like all of us, when our parents beat us, like as African parents beat their kids, we can remember the scene. Like maybe I did this, my father beat me, I cannot forget that. But the pain is something that we can't remember. But certain things our parents said to us that hurt us stick with us for life.
Yeah, words are so powerful.
Stick with us for life. So as a parent, like you should understand that these things that I'm saying is impacting my generation because it impacts your child, and they'll do the same thing to their kids, and also it's just like a cycle, never-ending cycle. Because I mean, think about it. When you were a child, your parents also abuse you with words, and that's why you become this particular way. But that needs to stop somewhere.
Definitely.
You know, so you need to think about it and say like, I need to stop this. Verbal abuse is something that is not beneficial to the child. Maybe as a parent, it helps you to get things off your chest.
Release
but
tension.
how's that beneficial for the child?
How's the negative?
Yeah, I mean, like as a parent, I mean, you as being a psychologist, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying like, verbal abuse on children, is it beneficial? It's not, is it?
It's not beneficial. It's not beneficial at all. I think you would lead to very, very, very adverse consequences. I think like when you're talking about, you know, because every behavior has a function, and you know when you see outbursts in children, when you see children speak so rudely to others, like they won't hesitate. There's no threshold to how they talk to people. It's because somebody's spoken to. It's more times than none. It's because this is what they've learned from somewhere else. So when we think about how we're talking to our children, is thinking about how do we want to be spoken to. You know, so it boils down to that, because if we're not giving those positive verbal affirmations, if we're not showing them how to talk to certain people, you know, how are they going to form relationships? Like for the child in question, you know, how could he form a good and long-standing romantic relationship if every time something goes wrong, there's an outburst? You know, but rather I think like it's almost, you know, I like to see things from an analytical approach. Like I used to be somebody who was very probably hot-headed, and I think teaching, you know,
calmed you down.
And oh my gosh, it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot because a kid could be like this one day. The next day, I'm thinking, you were so rude to me. The next morning, like, hello, hi. That they've forgotten about it.
Yeah.
You know. So I think that taught me, you know, how like to really think about. Okay, what's behind the behavior?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's, you know, I had a child who didn't want to come in to a class session that I had planned for them, because their mum had berated them for losing their Oyster card. And immediately my first instance was thinking that, oh, you know, she's just being rude to me. But it was the function of her behaviour was her anger and annoyance to what her mum had said. Do you see what I'm saying? So again, it's coming from trusted adult, impacts me. When I go outside, it's impacting the relationships I'm forming outside.
And just some closing remarks, because we obviously don't want to keep you from meeting up with your niece. Recognize you've got places to be. So just some closing remarks. Could you just give some advice to some parents, wannabe parents, and even some kids out there on, you know, what they should be doing when looking out for signs of abuse, and how they should be.
And you have to prevent it, like obviously, especially in regards to like parents and their kids, like things that to steer away from, you know, using such language on their children and things like that. So how to also kind of prevent it.
I think, as I said, in the African community, psychological abuse is much more prevalent, and unfortunately, that's the hardest one to recognise. You know, I can. You know, I'll be very controversial. You know, I'm a Christian myself, but you know, notably amongst the sellers of prosperity gospel, I think they heavily use subliminal techniques. Subliminal techniques to get people to do what they want them to do. You know, God is looking for that obedient one. God is looking for that person who would count everything lost, who would lay everything down, and that's $1,000. and you sit at home and you think to yourself, who's gonna fall for that? But these are the messages that are given to the people. These messages, you know, that are not founded in strong biblical teaching, lead people astray. Lead them in these sets of behaviors that they've been indoctrinated with over a period of time, which then impacts their relationships. You know, look at the Victoria Climbié one, that incident itself. You know, there's instances of children being seen as witches because they've had misfortune ever since this person has stayed with us. And those sets of those beliefs is what kills. I think it kills mostly the first generation of Africans, but then, you know, it's killing the rest if we're not careful. So I would spot that by looking at, you know, manipulative and controlling behaviors. You know, when do you feel controlled? You know, also you can spot someone who's suffering from emotional abuse if they struggle to develop trust. You know, or how easily do they find to build relationships?
Yeah, because I think when you're talking about it, sometimes these issues that kids have, it affects maybe like when they grow up, like having a relationship or something, because people that have like trust issues, it's tough for them. a lot of it stems from like their past and what they've been through. So then, and obviously if you have trust issues, it's very difficult for you to form a relationship.
Definitely.
So that really, so that's why I think abuse is such an important topic. Because it really transcends into different aspects of your life, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, this is a month of abuse. We're going to be talking about abuse. We're going to bring people into the show who have been through it, like survivors of abuse. So Dan, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you
It's been
so
a
much.
wonderful So we'll go
been
for
fun.
a musical break with CCTV by King Promise and Artist of the Month, Sarkodie.
Hey.
Show.
So that was CCTV by King Promise and our Artist of the Month. You're listening to the Hear Me Out show, the voice for the young on ABN Radio. So Artist of the Month, Sarkodie.
Hey.
His name is Michael Owusuado, professionally known as Sarkodie. He's a Ghanaian hip-hop recording artist and entrepreneur from Tema. He won the Best International Act Africa category at the 2012 BET Awards and was nominated in the same category at the 2014 BET Awards. In 2015, Sarkodie was ranked the 19th most influential Ghanaian by ETV Ghana. He's considered one of the major proponents of the Azonto genre of music and dance. Sarkodie is often named as one of Africa's greatest hip-hop artists.
Wow.
MTV Base ranked him sit on its list of the hottest African MCs in 2014.
Whoa.
In 2013, Lynx TV ranked him first on its list of the top 10 Ghanaian rappers of all time. In 2015, AfricanRanking.com ranked him third on its list of the top 10 African rappers of 2015. In 2015, The Guardian listed him as one of its top 5 hip-hop acts on the African continent. That is Sarkodie for you, our Artist of the Month.
Hey. I mean, Sarkodie had the same birthday, 10th July.
Sarkodie,
Just to
please, you
slip
need to
that in.
shout out Amazing Grace
Have to.
on the 10th of July. Like, it's a must. I mean, but for me, I think he's really changed the face of music in Ghana. I mean, especially for live. I think he's one of the first artists who started like live shows. He wasn't just miming. He had like a whole
Live
band.
shows.
And he started like his concerts like I think every December.
Yeah.
It's usually
Rapaholic.
and it's usually sold out every week. So Sarkodie, I think you're inspiring young people out there.
Definitely.
Yeah,
doing
and
great.
keep up the good work.
I wanted to give a shout out. It's not a birthday shout out, a birthday one, but it's to Victoria and David Beckham. They celebrated their 19th wedding anniversary this past week.
Wow.
And honestly, I think they're such a beautiful family. And also for a celebrity marriage to last that long.
19.
I mean, 19 years going on 20, that's a lifetime in, Hollywood or celebrity and anything like that. And, their bond is very beautiful. They've got 4 beautiful kids. And they're just doing amazing. And it's so beautiful to see their family. They don't do team too much. They're not overly like lovey-dovey and they post here, posting every once in a while. And it's just beautiful, to see them last this long, despite the ups, the downs, everything, to see them last this long and the love that they have for each other. So yeah, happy 19th wedding anniversary goes out to Victoria and David Beckham.
Daniel, do you have any shout-outs you want to give out?
Your social.
Your family, your husband, your niece who's
Your
celebrating
niece.
her birthday today. Do you
Yeah,
want to
shout out to Chantel.
Happy
How old is
birthday.
that? How
She's
old
gonna
is
be
she?
12. She's 12 already, so
Oh, she's
yeah.
oh,
bless
wow.
her.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
birthday.
Shout out to Isaiah.
That's a nice name.
Yeah, Isaiah, my lookalike. He hates that when I say that. He hates that.
Is your brother?
No, it's my nephew. But everywhere we go, it's like, I said, your son. And I was like, yeah, that's my son. I'm like, yeah. He said to me, I've got the brains and you got the beard. That's his phrase. Yeah. But yeah, a shout out to all Ghanaians. Yeah.
All our listeners.
Shout out to England. Come on, it's coming home.
Bring it back.
Football is coming
Bring it
home.
back.
Come on,
Sing
England.
properly.
Come on, France. Sub-Saharan Africa. Woo!
Anyways, guys, follow our social media pages on Instagram,
Yes.
Facebook, and Twitter. HMO Show. Next week we have an interesting guest coming in. She has a book out there which we put on her. I mean, if you follow our social media pages, you realize what we're going to be talking about. Who's coming? It's actually coming on the show. And I know next week is going to be an exciting show because it's already planned out, and we're going to go talk further into abuse. We'll probably just focus on one aspect of abuse.
Right.
You can DM us or send us messages about your stories or your survival stories, and we would share to people out there to inspire other young people. This is the Hear Me Out Show. My name is Chef Nee, and we have
Kofi a day in the building. Thanks for tuning
Okay,
in,
that's
guys.
Julius.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was gonna jot that in.
That name dies today. Okay, we're leaving it. We're leaving it in
lives.
today.
I mean, we send a shout out to Nana Kwame as well. I know he's
Yes.
listening to us, and hopefully he will be with us next week. I'm gonna
Yes.
enjoy to say something before we go out the show.
It's nice to be back.
Yay!
It's good to have Amma London back.
We thank
and
God.
Yeah.
Amazing Grace was good with like her contributions and stuff. Thanks guys for listening to us. Hopefully
you,
we'll have you
everybody.
guys with us next week. Enjoy your week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.